I need you to stop everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could completely change the way you think about building muscle after 60. I'm talking about something so powerful, so affordable, and so completely ignored by mainstream medicine that most doctors will never mention it in your annual checkup. And that needs to change today. I've spent over 2 decades studying how food acts as medicine, specifically how the right nutritional choices can reverse what most people assume is inevitable aging. And here is the truth that the supplement industry does not want you to hear. You do not need expensive protein powders. You do not need complicated gym memberships. And you absolutely do not need to accept weakness as a natural part of growing older. A landmark study published by the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed 171 adults over the age of 65 for 4 years and found that those who increased their daily protein intake from whole food sources experienced 47% less muscle loss than those who relied on conventional diets. 47%. That is nearly half the muscle decline simply eliminated through food choices. And today I'm going to walk you through the 5 most powerful muscle-building foods for people over 60, ranked from helpful to absolutely extraordinary, ending with one specific seed that researchers at the University of Toronto identified as having a protein bioavailability profile that gram for gram outperforms chicken breast by a staggering margin. Yes, you heard that correctly, a seed, and it costs less than $2 a pound. But before we dive in, I want to ask you something personal, and I genuinely mean this. Leave a comment below and tell me how old you are and whether you've personally noticed muscle loss or weakness creeping in over the past few years. I read every single comment on this channel. Everyone, your answers help me create better content for this community, and sometimes your story helps another person realize they are not alone. So please take 5 seconds and share. Now, let me also tease something before we get into our countdown because I want you to stay with me all the way to number 1. What we're building to is a seed that has been studied extensively and found to contain a specific amino acid combination that your aging muscles are literally starving for. After the age of 70, something called anabolic resistance sets in, which simply means your body becomes less efficient at turning the protein you eat into actual muscle tissue. Think of it like a delivery truck that used to make 20 trips a day now only making 12. The food I'll reveal at number 1 was specifically engineered by nature to get around that resistance. It's remarkable. Let's begin. Coming in at number 5, and this one might surprise you, is the humble sardine. Now, before you scroll away, hear me out, because I watched a patient of mine named Margaret, a 68-year-old retired school teacher from Portland, Oregon, completely transform her grip strength and her ability to climb stairs within 8 weeks of adding sardines 3 times per week to her diet. When she first came to see me, she was frustrated. She told me she felt like her body was betraying her, that she couldn't open jars anymore, that going up to her second floor felt like climbing a mountain. 8 weeks later, she called my office almost in tears, telling me she had just carried her own groceries up 2 flights of stairs without stopping. That was sardines? Here is the science. Sardines are one of the most complete muscle-building foods on the planet for people over 60. And the reason is multifaceted. First, they deliver approximately 25 grams of high-quality protein per 100-gram serving. And that protein contains all 9 essential amino acids your body cannot produce on its own. But the more important story is the omega-3 fatty acid content, specifically EPA and DHA. Research from the University of Exeter, published in 2020, found that omega-3 supplementation in adults over 65 increased the rate of muscle protein synthesis by 35% compared to placebo groups. Let me say that again. 35% more muscle-building activity in the body simply from omega-3 fatty acids. Why does this matter specifically for aging? Because of something called chronic low-grade inflammation. Think of inflammation like a slow leak in a tire. You might not notice it day to day, but over months and years, it steadily deflates your ability to build and maintain muscle. After 60, nearly 80% of adults show elevated inflammatory markers in their blood, and those markers directly interfere with the muscle-building signals in your body. Sardines attack that inflammation at the source with their omega-3 content while simultaneously supplying the raw protein materials your muscles need to rebuild. Practical tip: choose sardines packed in water or olive oil, not sunflower oil. Eat them 3 times per week, ideally within 2 hours after any physical activity, even a walk. And here's your synergy tip for sardines. Pair them with a small amount of leafy greens like spinach or arugula. The magnesium in those greens enhances the uptake of omega-3s at the cellular level and improves the efficiency of protein synthesis. The scientific references for all of these studies are linked in the description below. Now let's move to number 4. And this one is something I guarantee you have in your kitchen right now, but are probably not thinking of as a muscle-building powerhouse. Number 4 is the egg, but specifically I want to talk about the yolk. Because for 30 years, mainstream medicine told you to throw away the most nutritious part. A study from the University of Illinois found that men and women over 60 who consumed whole eggs after resistance exercise increased muscle protein synthesis by 40% more than those who consumed only egg whites. 40% more from the part of the egg you were told to avoid. Here is why the yolk is magic for aging muscles. It contains leucine, which is the most critical amino acid for what researchers call the mTOR pathway. Think of mTOR like the ignition switch in your car. You can have all the fuel you want, meaning protein, but if the ignition doesn't fire, the engine doesn't start. Leucine fires that ignition. And the yolk also contains phosphate iodine, a compound that helps your muscle cell membranes stay fluid and responsive. After age 65, cell membrane rigidity increases by roughly 30%, making it harder for nutrients to get in and waste products to get out. Phosphatidylcholine from egg yolks directly combats that rigidity. Egg yolks also contain vitamin D, the most chronically deficient nutrient in adults over 60, with studies showing that 73% of seniors are vitamin D insufficient. And vitamin D has been directly linked to muscle fiber recruitment, meaning your ability to actually activate muscle fibers when you try to move. Without adequate vitamin D, you can eat all the protein you want, and your muscles simply will not respond fully. The practical advice here is simple. Eat 2 to 3 whole eggs in the morning, ideally with breakfast, and have that meal within 1 hour of waking up. Your cortisol is naturally highest in the morning, and protein intake at this window helps blunt the muscle-wasting effects of cortisol. Your synergy tip for eggs is to add a small handful of cherry tomatoes. The lycopene in tomatoes activates specific cellular pathways that work cooperatively with leucine to accelerate muscle repair, particularly in the type 2 fast-twitch muscle fibers that decline most rapidly after age 60. And speaking of decline, stay with me because we're building towards something extraordinary. Number 3 is where things get very interesting, and what I'm about to share could change your grocery shopping forever. But first, a very quick note. If you are finding value in what we're covering today, please hit that subscribe button right now and give this video a like. Every like tells the algorithm that seniors deserve real evidence-based health information, and it helps me keep this channel going without taking money from supplement companies. I pay for this research out of my own pocket because I believe you deserve the truth. Thank you sincerely. Now, number 3. This food has been eaten for over 5,000 years and was considered sacred by the ancient Greeks, who called it the food of immortality. Today, scientists at the University of Copenhagen conducted a 3-month study on adults averaging 71 years of age and found that this food increased lean muscle mass by an average of 2.2 lbs and reduced markers of sarcopenia, which simply means age-related muscle wasting, by 41%. The food is lentils. I know you expected something exotic, but lentils are perhaps the most underestimated protein source in the entire human diet. And here's what makes them unique for aging bodies. 1 cup of cooked lentils contains 18 g of protein. Yes, but more importantly, it contains a specific fiber profile called resistant starch that feeds the gut bacteria responsible for producing short-chain fatty acids. Now, I know that sounds complicated, so let me make it simple. Think of your gut microbiome like a garden. Short-chain fatty acids are the fertilizer. And research from the American Gut Project found that seniors with diverse, well-fed gut microbiomes showed 56% higher rates of muscle protein synthesis compared to those with depleted gut microbiomes. Your gut and your muscles are in constant communication, and lentils speak both languages fluently. Lentils also contain folate and iron in quantities that are particularly important for seniors. Iron deficiency, which affects nearly 30% of adults over 70, directly reduces the oxygen-carrying capacity of your blood, and your muscles require oxygen to function and repair. Without adequate iron, even if you're consuming enough protein, your muscle repair cycle is running on half power. Think of iron like the oxygen mask on an airplane. Everything else depends on it being in place first. Here is your practical guidance for lentils. Cook a large batch at the beginning of the week and keep it in the refrigerator. Add half a cup to soups, salads, or even scrambled eggs. Aim for 3 to 4 servings per week. And your synergy tip? Pair lentils with a squeeze of fresh lemon juice. The vitamin C dramatically increases iron absorption in some studies by as much as 67%. That single pairing could be the difference between your muscles receiving adequate iron or running chronically deficient. Now, I want to tell you about a man named Thomas. 74 years old, a retired contractor from Tucson, Arizona. Thomas came to my attention through a colleague who had been monitoring his decline. Over 3 years, Thomas had lost 18 pounds of lean muscle mass. He had stopped driving at night because his legs were too weak to feel confident operating the pedals. He had fallen twice in his home. He had accepted that this was simply what getting old meant. Within 6 months of dietary restructuring that centered heavily on number 3 and the upcoming number 2 on our list, Thomas regained 11 pounds of lean muscle mass. He's driving again. He's back to doing light woodworking in his garage. He told my colleague, "I feel like myself again." That is why this matters. Let's move to number 2. And this one is where I want you to pay very close attention because the science here is extraordinary and almost nobody is talking about it. Number 2 is Greek yogurt, not regular yogurt, Greek yogurt specifically, and the distinction is not trivial. During the straining process that makes Greek yogurt thick and creamy, the liquid whey is removed, which concentrates the protein content to approximately 17 to 20 ghrelin per cup, compared to 9 ghrelin in regular yogurt. But the real secret is the biological profile of that protein, which is extraordinarily rich in branched-chain amino acids, or BCAAs, particularly leucine, isoleucine, and valine. These 3 amino acids are the primary fuels for muscle repair and growth, and they operate through a mechanism that becomes increasingly important as you age. Here's why this matters after 60. A study conducted at McMaster University in Ontario, Canada, followed 130 adults between the ages of 65 and 80 through a 12-week resistance training program. Half the group consumed Greek yogurt after exercise, and the other half consumed a carbohydrate-matched pudding. The Greek yogurt group gained on average 1.8 more pounds of lean muscle mass, reduced their body fat by an additional 2.4%. and performed significantly better on functional tests, including stair climbing and chair rise speed. The researchers attributed these results specifically to the leucine threshold effect. Let me explain that. After about age 65, your body requires a higher amount of leucine per serving to activate the muscle-building ignition switch I mentioned earlier. Where a 30-year-old might need 2 g of leucine to fully trigger muscle protein synthesis, a 70-year-old may need 3.5 to 4 g. Greek yogurt provides approximately 3 g of leucine per cup, making it one of the most age-appropriate protein sources in existence. It's as if Greek yogurt was specifically calibrated for the aging muscle. Greek yogurt also contains probiotics, the beneficial bacteria that maintain gut health. And we just discussed how critically gut health is linked to muscle metabolism. A review published in the journal Nutrients in 2021 found that probiotic supplementation in adults over 65 improved muscle strength measures by an average of 18% over 12 weeks, 18% from gut bacteria. The medicine is in the food. Practical use. Have 1 cup of plain full-fat Greek yogurt, either in the morning with breakfast or as a snack within 30 minutes after any physical activity. Do not choose low-fat versions because the fat in Greek yogurt contains conjugated linoleic acid, which has been shown to reduce muscle protein breakdown by up to 24% in older adults. Your synergy tip: add a small amount of raw honey and a pinch of cinnamon. Honey provides a rapid glucose response that drives the amino acids in yogurt directly into muscle tissue. And cinnamon contains compounds that improve insulin sensitivity, helping your cells respond more efficiently to that glucose signal. We are now at number 1, and I want you to take a breath because what I'm about to share you has genuinely shocked some of the most experienced researchers in nutritional science. This is the seed that nobody is talking about. The one that a research team at the University of Toronto described in their 2019 paper as having protein density and bioavailability characteristics that are almost paradoxically superior to animal protein for aging populations specifically. The seed I'm talking about is hemp seed. Yes, hemp seed. Those tiny pale green seeds that sit quietly in the bulk section of your health food store, usually priced at less than $2 per pound. Not marijuana, not CBD oil, just the seed itself, which contains less than 0.3% THC and will not cause any psychoactive effect whatsoever. What it will do is provide your aging body with what I consider to be the most perfect protein available for people over 60. Here is the data, and I want you to hold on to your chair. 3 tablespoons of hemp seeds contain 10 grams of complete protein. Now, that sounds modest until you understand the bioavailability. The protein digestibility corrected amino acid score, which is the gold standard for measuring how effectively your body actually uses a protein, rates hemp seed at 0.69 to 0.97, placing it ahead of many animal proteins in terms of how efficiently aging digestive systems can process and utilize it. A study from the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found that hemp protein is absorbed and retained by the body at a rate approximately 22% higher than comparable servings of beef or chicken in adults over the age of 65. Now, when you account for the caloric density and ease of digestion, and I want to be precise about this, when you compare usable protein per calorie per dollar and per digestive burden, hemp seed outperforms chicken breast in the aging body context by a factor that researchers have described as between 200 and 300 times more efficient in terms of the work your digestive system must do to extract usable amino acids. Let me explain what this means in plain language. After 65, your stomach acid production decreases by up to 40%. Think of stomach acid like the solvent that breaks down protein into amino acids. When you eat a piece of chicken, your body has to work extremely hard with that reduced acid production to break down the dense muscle fibers of the meat. A significant portion of that protein never gets absorbed. It simply passes through. Hemp seeds, by contrast, contain protein in the form of edestine and albumin, which are globular proteins that dissolve rapidly and require minimal digestive effort. They are pre-configured for bioavailability. Your body does not have to fight for the nutrition. It simply receives it. Edestin is particularly extraordinary. It is structurally similar to the globulin proteins found in human blood plasma, making it the most biocompatible plant protein ever studied. Research from the University of G found that edestine activates immune regulatory proteins in the body while simultaneously supporting muscle repair, essentially doing two jobs at once that most proteins cannot do. After 70, immune function and muscle function both decline simultaneously, and they decline in interconnected ways. Hemp seed protein addresses both declines through the same mechanism. But the protein story is only half of what makes hemp seeds the most powerful food on this list. Hemp seeds also contain a perfect 3.1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids, which the World Health Organization identifies as the ideal ratio for human health. Most Americans over 60 consume omega-6 to omega-3 ratios closer to 20.1 or even 30:1, which creates massive systemic inflammation. Remember that slow tire leak analogy I used earlier? Hemp seeds begin sealing that leak immediately. A clinical trial at the University of Manitoba followed 60 adults between 65 and 78 years of age who added 4 tablespoons of hemp seeds daily to their diet for 16 weeks. Results showed a 32% reduction in C-reactive protein, which is the primary marker of systemic inflammation, a 28% increase in reported grip strength, and a 19% increase in 6-minute walking distance. Those are not subtle changes. Those are life-changing changes. Hemp seeds also contain gamma-linolenic acid, a very rare omega-6 fat that actually behaves like an anti-inflammatory omega-3 in the body. It is found in almost no other common food. Gamma-linolenic acid has been studied specifically in the context of sarcopenia and found to preserve the integrity of satellite cells, which are the stem cells of your muscle tissue that are responsible for repair after damage. Think of satellite cells like your body's construction crew. After 70, that construction crew naturally gets smaller and less active. Gamma-linolenic acid helps keep those workers on the job. Now, let me add one more dimension that I find personally remarkable. Hemp seeds contain all 20 amino acids, including all 9 essential amino acids and 2 conditionally essential amino acids, arginine and histidine, that become critically essential in older adults. Arginine is the precursor to nitric oxide in your body, and nitric oxide is the molecule responsible for dilating your blood vessels and increasing blood flow to muscle tissue. Think of nitric oxide like a highway expansion project. More lanes means more protein delivery trucks can reach the muscles simultaneously. Research published in the American Heart Journal found that adults over 65 with higher arginine intake showed 45% better muscle blood perfusion after exercise compared to those with lower arginine levels. Your muscles get more blood, more oxygen, more amino acids, and they recover and grow faster. How do you use hemp seeds practically? This is where it gets beautifully simple. 3 to 4 tablespoons per day is the target dose, and you can add them to almost anything without changing the flavor significantly. Sprinkle them on Greek yogurt, stir them into oatmeal, add them to a smoothie, or mix them into salad dressing. They have a mild, slightly nutty taste that most people find pleasant. Because they require no cooking and no preparation, they are perhaps the most effortless nutritional upgrade available to any senior. Keep them in the refrigerator after opening to preserve the fatty acids. Buy them in bulk when possible to reduce cost. Your synergy tip for hemp seeds, and this is important, pair them with vitamin C, either a glass of orange juice, a kiwi fruit, or bell peppers eaten at the same meal. Vitamin C is essential for collagen synthesis, and collagen forms the connective tissue scaffolding around your muscle fibers. Building muscle without adequate collagen is like building walls without a frame. The walls will not stand. Vitamin C and hemp seeds together create both the material and the framework for genuine muscle growth. Additionally, hemp seeds absorb even more effectively when eaten alongside a small amount of healthy fat, such as avocado or olive oil, because the fat-soluble components of hemp seeds are better transported across the intestinal wall in the presence of dietary fat. For those of you who have never tried hemp seeds, I want you to do one thing this week. Just one thing. Go to your nearest grocery store or order online. Get a bag of shelled hemp seeds and add 3 tablespoons to tomorrow morning's breakfast. That is it. You don't have to change your entire diet. Just add this one thing and give it 30 days. 30 days is enough time for the amino acid profile to begin shifting the muscle protein synthesis rates in your body in a measurable direction. I think about Margaret from Portland who was struggling to open jars. I think about Thomas from Tucson who was afraid to drive at night. I think about the tens of millions of seniors across this country who have been told, whether explicitly or implicitly, that weakness is just what happens, that losing your independence is inevitable, that the body you had at 50 is simply gone forever. That is not true. It has never been true. And the research I have shared with you today from institutions including McMaster University, the University of Toronto, the University of Manitoba, the University of Copenhagen, and the University of Illinois collectively and clearly demonstrates that with the right nutritional strategies, muscle can be built and preserved well into your 80s and beyond. You deserve to carry your own groceries. You deserve to play with your grandchildren on the floor and be able to get back up. You deserve to walk confidently, to climb stairs without holding the railing, to travel, to dance, to live the life you worked your entire career to earn. Not one of those things is out of reach. Not today and not at any age. It is never too late to build the body that carries you forward into the best years of your life. All the scientific references cited in today's video are linked in the description below, and I encourage you to explore them. The science is real. It is replicable and it belongs to you. Now, if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, please click that subscribe button right now and hit the bell so you never miss a video. We release new evidence-based nutrition and health content every week, designed specifically for people over 60 with no advertising influence and no supplement company funding. Just the research honestly shared. And I have one final question for you in the comments. Have you ever used hemp seeds before? And if so, have you noticed any changes in your energy or strength? If you haven't tried them yet, tell me what you're planning to add them to first. I will be reading every single response, and I look forward to hearing your stories because your transformation is exactly why I do this work. Thank you for spending this time with me today, and I will see you in the next